how we starting off, y'all. And that's all burr. Oh, absolutely not. Did notice is that play it cool, play it off like nothing, it's not that serious, like, but it was glitching like crazy. There's no doors in here. I would try to put doors, but here we are here at Kianga's funeral. But we gonna really fight. Oh, that is so cute. Let me take a picture of this girl. Last one was lit. When the last wedding we had with Marjani, wasn't that lit? Ooh, don't do that to my girl Zuri. Sada just walked away. You know, I ain't got time for that. Alright, y'all. Welcome back to the Sims 4 Black Ultimate Decades Challenge. Today, we are doing a recap. So, if you do not know, I started a legacy challenge that starts in the 1300s and is supposed to go all the way to the 2020s. Now, I did a little spin on this. If you check out the Ultimate Decades Challenge on any other website, on any other video, it's based in medieval times, European. And I said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. No shade for the Europeans. But do I look European to you? I wanted to see something different. I wanted to see something fresh. So I started a Ultimate Decades Challenge in Africa. Okay, so I started with the Mostafa family, and I created our heir, his two brothers, and his mother and father. They are actually royalty. They rule a kingdom that is not named because I never gave it a name. I created this kingdom based on the greatest empire in the 1300s, which was the Canaan-Bornu Empire. But let's dive into this storyline. So, in the beginning of this challenge, we had the death of King Hakem take place. And Kianga. Kianga passed away too. However, Kianga was resurrected by Gamba's pleas, causing her to come back to life. Only 1 month later, Gamba accepts his crown during his coronation after his father's passing. And here we meet Zuri, Kahina, and Ade. Zuri is actually arranged to be married to King Gamba, well, now King Gamba, and her mother and her father are alongside with her. Yet there's something about Zuri and Kahina that we do not know, that we later find out. 3 months later, we have a wedding, and they consummate the marriage that night. A couple months later, Prince Hassani meets a woman named Sada. He's just entranced by her beauty, and he could tell that she's from a royal line. However, she's not living the life that she is supposed to be living. So he invites her to dinner at his palace, well, at his brother's palace, and asks his brother for his blessing. Yes, right before Sada arrived for dinner, and Sada meets Hassani's family. She meets King Gamba. She meets Raza, Kianga, as well as Zuri. Sada recognizes Zuri and knows her because they both come from the same place. Mind you, if I didn't mention already, Zuri and Sada come from the same land. They both migrated to the Mustafa's kingdom. So Sada's looking at Zuri like, oh my gosh, I know this woman, I know who this is, and she knows exactly what she is. However, the Mostafa family do not. In the beginning of 1301, Zuri has Bano, her first child Bano, with King Gamba. Then Sada goes back to her family, and her family decide regarding Hassani's interest in her, and Sada's family plans to arrange a marriage with her and Hassani. Meanwhile, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the Mostafa household. There's fires taking place. People are being voodooed randomly. Even the babies was getting voodooed. All types of stuff. The servants was getting voodooed. Everybody was getting voodooed. A couple months later, Bano ages into an infant. We also eventually finally have Hassani and Sada's wedding. Unfortunately, the next thing that happens is King Ade dies. Zuri's father dies, and due to the grief that Kahina is having, she moves in with the Mostafa household. So Sada and Hassani actually have to woohoo again because for some reason, whenever they try for a baby, it does not work out. However, Zuri has no problem having babies. She is actually pregnant with her second child. Now we're getting into 1302, where we learn that Kahina and Zuri are spellcasters, and their presence in the Mostafa household has actually caused all this voodoo going on, all these fires, all this misfortune has been going on because of Kahina and Zuri, and they have been manipulating and influencing the lives of the people in this house. And this is only revealed to the audience. The Mostafa household still are not aware of this. Now, after Hassani and Sada have got married, the Garbas officially meet the Mostafa household, and we notice that there is a lot of history between the Garbas and the Abioi family, which happens to be, Zuri and her mother Kahina. We learn that Kahina and Amina have a past, have a history, and they did not leave off on good terms, because throughout this time, Kahina was casting spells on Amina, trying to make Amina look like the bad guy, trying to make her be repulsive to the Mostafa family. And then Zuri finally gives birth to her second child. It is a boy named Prince Darian Mostafa. And then Bano actually has her birthday, and she ages into a toddler. Darian ages into an infant. Sada is finally pregnant, which I was so excited, so happy about. And for Raza, he was next to get married. So Gamba held a feast for him to meet some marriage candidates. However, during this time, Raza actually was the most attracted to one of the girls, Fa. Mind you, also we meet Marjani and we also meet Rana. However, Miss Fa was there with her brother. They kept on parting themselves from the rest of the group, going outside, going into the garden, and Sada was outside in the bathroom at the time, and she thought this was very strange that they kept on going off into their own world or whatever during this time, and she really thought they were doing things out of malicious intent. And she went back and told Gamba that she did not trust them, and this actually ended up in Fa's disqualification of being Raza's wife. Then a couple months later, Rana and Raza go on their first date, and then also Marjani and Raza go on their first date. He's compatible with both of them in two different ways, but he has to make a choice. Now we get to 1303, and in the beginning of 1303, poor Sada gets cheated on by Hassani. However, there is something strange going on with how this even took place. Zuri believes that her mother casted a spell on Hassani and their servant for them to fall into this infidelity. So Kahina and Sada go to Gamba with a grievance towards his brother Hassani. And at first, Gamba does not tolerate this. He doesn't believe it because he does not believe Hassani. He believes Hassani would cheat, but he does not believe his brother would cheat with their servant that they've had since they were kids. And because it's not received well, Kahina actually casts a spell on Gamba to make him banish Hassani, as well as their servant Eshe. She also uses this to her advantage to convince Gamba to make her the regent of the kingdom. So if you don't know what the regent is, she will basically reign over the kingdom if Gamba's heir is too young to reign over the kingdom. Then Gamba finally banishes Hassani, unfortunately, and he also banishes Essay. The same day, Gamba ages up to a young adult, and then later, Zuri confronts her mother about this spell that was casted on Hassani. And she's like, I don't like that you did that. I really don't like that you did that. And of course, her mother is like, listen, this is how we have to do things, and if you don't like it, whatever. That is not my problem, that is yours. Because Zuri does not agree with how her mother is doing things, she feels very bad. So she does get closer to Sada in this moment, and she actually assists Sada in her labor. Sada has her first child, Prince Abidemi Mustafa. Also, we have Razer's wedding, and we learn that he has chosen Marjani as his bride. We also have Abedemi age up to an infant. Then Hassani moves in with the Garba family after Zuri talks to Sada about Kahina's spell. So she exposes to Sada, hey, my mother casted a spell on your husband to cheat on you. This was not his action. This was a witchcraft spell. And because of Zuri's intervention, Sada was able to soften her heart some and allow Hassani to stay with her and her family. Then at the end of the year, we have Darian ages up into a toddler. Now in 1304, we have Hassani, Sada, and Zuri's birthdays, and they all age up to a young adult. We learn that Sada is pregnant again. We learn that Zuri is also pregnant. Marjani has her first child. She gives birth to Prince Hakem Mustafa. However, he does pass away. Also during this time, King Akoro breaks ties with the Mustafa family after he learns his daughter, Princess Efe, was disqualified. And he knows his daughter, he knows his son, he knows they had no malicious intent, and he believes that there was a false witness put against them to make them become disqualified. He thinks there was like a lot of, he believes it was a setup, so they cut ties. And this causes tension between those two kingdoms. Prince Coyote actually pledges to get revenge on the Mustafa household. He doesn't believe what his father breaking ties is enough. He believes blood and violence should be in this equation. We learn that Marjani is pregnant again. Back in the Garba household, we have a new addition to the family. We meet Justice Mustafa, and during this time, Abedemi ages up to a toddler. Sada gives birth to Mawuli, and in the Mustafa household, Zuri gives birth to Adaze. Now we get into 1305. Zuri finally ages up to a young adult officially. I couldn't age her up because she was pregnant at the time. And Adaze ages up to an infant. Mawuli also ages up to an infant on this day. We have some sad news coming up. Queen Kianga passes away. She was scheduled. Saying scheduled is crazy, but she was scheduled to pass away in 1305, and we had her funeral. Hassani was not invited to even see his own mother's funeral. We learn that Zuri is pregnant yet again. Marjani gives birth to Chanda. Princess Chanda does not make it. She passes away. And then finally, Amina exposes her past to Sada and Hadi. And, Amina sits down and tells them all this because that time is approaching. So, of course, Sada is completely overthrown, and she doesn't even know how to process her emotions, so she just walks away. And because Sada knows this now, on the evil side of the spirit realm, the spirits are telling Kahina that an enemy is rising. Sada now knows her true identity. She has that power to defeat you now. She has that power to use that against you now. So the evil spirits warn her that an enemy is rising, causing Kahina to go summon her previous Grand Master. She goes and talks with them and like, please reveal to me who this enemy is and what I could do to stop them. And they reveal it's Sada. Now, in the beginning of 1306, Zuri doesn't have one baby. She doesn't have two babies. But she has three babies. Triplets. This girl has triplets. I'm still shocked to this day. And then Sada also gives birth on that day, and she has Imani. Oh, let me say their names. Prince Amir Mustafa, Princess Ira Mustafa, and Princess Engel Mustafa. Then Sana has her baby, her first girl, Princess Imani Mustafa. 3 months later, they have their birthdays, and they all age up to infants. Mawuli also happens to age up to a toddler on the same day. Sadly, we have a loss, and we have Princess Adaze Mustafa. She passes away due to malnutrition. Then we also have another birthday, Raz's birthday, and he ages up to a young adult. So with Sada finally processing this information, it's been probably like it's probably been about 6 months, 9 months, almost a year since her mother revealed to her her true identity. So she comes to Zuri and learn, Zuri's her half sister. So she's like, listen, I need to let you know that you're my half sister, and I'm letting you know this because you've helped me along the way. You've been there for me during my birth. You have allowed me to know what's going on in this household. You exposed me, your mother, to evil and wicked plans, so I do trust you. But during this time, Amina goes off on Zuri, and you're trying to be this good superhero right now. No, you're not a superhero. You're just as wicked as your mother is. You knew what your mother's intentions were. You allowed her to destroy, manipulate these people's lives, and you just sat there and let her do it. Then Amina kind of goes off on a tangent, and she starts to, talk about her mother, all these things, and it offends Zuri, and leaving Zuri to leave very angry, very angry, very mad. Also during this time, Gamba actually starts to treat Zuri very nasty. Like, he's very mean to her. Every time I turn around, he's like insulting her, cursing her out. We start to believe, like, is this spell wearing off? This spell that Kahina put on him must be wearing off. Spoiler alert, or not spoiler alert, Kahina put a spell on Gamba for him to love Zuri. Because Kahina knows now that, okay, this girl Sada, she's a problem. I need to do something about this. Let's get her married and arrange this marriage with a man that's far, 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 far away from here. Sada is invited for dinner. Kahina and Gamba are talking to her about, hey, we have been thinking about you. We feel like the right thing to do is to set you up with a man, set you up with a nice king somewhere, so that you can have a husband and that your legacy can flourish. And that's what Gamba's thinking. Gamba's thinking that this is what it's about, but it's not. Kahina has her own agenda. Then Benny is born to Marjani and Raza, and she actually makes it. So this is their first child. So excited. 3 months later, the Mustafas are actually invited to King Gamal's birthday feast, where Gamba meets Alma, who happens to be one of King Gamal's servants, and he is just smitten by her. Then some craziness goes on, and Coyote, the Coral family, also happened to be at this same birthday dinner. And Coyote sees that he thinks that Gamba looked at his sister a certain way when they passed ways at the dinner table. Coyote goes completely buck wild. He approaches Gamba, and they start to argue, they start to fuss, and they make a whole scene, and they end up fighting at poor King Gamal's birthday feast. Now we get to 1307, where Benny ages to an infant. Bono ages to our child. So this is our first child. And it is exposed that Kahina is losing her powers. Her powers have been very inconsistent. Some of her curses and spells are working, some are not. Then, unfortunately, Marjani passes away. She does not make it for her young adult role. Then we have the triplets' birthday, and they all succeeded. All 3 of them passed their roles, and they grew up to these cute little kids. And then we also had Imani's birthday, and she also succeeded in her roles as well. About 6 to 9 months after Marjani's passing, Gamba makes an exchange and arrangement with King Gamal after everything that took place at his birthday party. So his way of apologizing for that is he is saying, listen, I will give you a portion of my kingdom if you agree to marry your daughter to my brother Raza, and if you also agree to let me take ownership of your servant Alma. And King Gamal, like, oh yeah, like, I really don't respect you after all that, but my daughter is 21 years old. She should have been married. She's undesirable to most men. Then number 2, you just want my servant? Come on now, like, this is not even my favorite servant. Everybody know who my favorite servant is, and it's not her. So you can go ahead and take her. I get a whole portion of your. I get a whole. Make it half. Make it half. That's the best deal you could ever give a man, okay? Then we get to 1308, and Alma is welcomed to the household as as for King Gamba. He's King Gamba's concubine, and she is the servant of the household now. We also have Azem. Prince Azem Mustafa is born to Sada and Hassani. Then Gamba actually confides in Kahina and tells her that he has lost his trust for Zuri, because Zuri came to him last night saying not to trust you. Like, Zuri is telling me not to trust you, Kahina. And that gave me a lot of red flags, because if she is able to betray her own mother, wouldn't she betray me too? Hearing this, Kahina is completely done with Zuri. Then Raza and Rana have their first wedding, where Rana starts a lot of drama. She tried big fights with this poor man, and I believe it's because it made me feel insecure, because she is Raza's second wife, and his first wife, you know, he truly did love Marjani. Yes, but they do still end up consummating their marriage that night. Going back to Kahina and her drama, Kahina tells Gamba, go ahead and take Alma as your wife. And of course Gamba's like, okay, I'll wife her up. Then this broke my heart. Prince Darren Mustafa passed away. And I tried to get Kahina to plead, but this girl did not freaking plead. She was freaking too late. It's like, girl, you're playing games right now. You're the Grand Master. You work with the Grim Reaper, and girl, what are you doing right now? Benny ages up to a toddler. She succeeds in her roles, and she's the cutest chocolate baby I've ever seen in my life. And we also have Azem aging up to an infant. We have a second marriage for Gamba and Alma. And then we learn that Rana is pregnant with her first child. So remember, Kahina and Gamba were trying to come up with a marriage arrangement for Sada. We meet that prospect, who is King Farhan Yabera. And at the end of the year, we learn that Alma is pregnant. So, in the beginning at 1309, our last year, Zuri, Sada, and Amina make amends after the last really bad conversation they had. Then Rana gives birth to Princess Anuli Mustafa. However, she does pass away as well. Then Kahina she's trying everything she can to discourage, to get Sada off of her track, because she knows she gotta look out for Sada. She invites Abidemi and Sada over for Abidemi's birthday. However, this curse does not work, and it actually falls upon her own head. Kahina tries to put a curse on him while he blows out the birthday candle. And once Kahina sees that this doesn't work, she is desperate to marry Sada to Farhan. So she comes up with her own plan of whenever Sada and Farhan finally meet, she's going to put a spell on them to fall so much in love that they get married that same day. So we see her here making an infatuation potion. She is not playing any games. And so Sada lets Hassani and her mother know, like, hey, I'm supposed to be meeting with my marriage prospect today. Once Sada tells them what's going on, Hassani and her mother are like, we feel in our spirit that it's right to come with you, because whatever's about to go down is going to be serious. Then we have Prince Azem Mustafa age up to a toddler, the cutest little boy ever. So we get to the dinner party where Sada and Farhan meet, and Farhan happens to drink this potion that Kahina came up with. It actually does not work. It doesn't work. He tries to flirt and make advances to Sada, and she is not having it. And this frustrates Kahina so much. She's an emotional, impulsive person, so she lashes out. And Zuri hears all this commotion from the other room, and she actually joins in on the argument. Alma decides to have her baby in the middle of all this. So she has Princess Kenza Mustafa. Sadly, Kenza does not make it. Now, getting back to the tea, Zuri, this argument results in Zuri and her mother having an entire spellcaster duel where Zuri actually did lose this battle. However, Kahina is just so upset that her own daughter would betray her She's looking around like, why is Hassani and Amina here? What is going on? What is this, a setup? And she gets so mad. All she is looking at is Sauda. She's like, Sauda, you are the reason why this is happening. So she tries to kill Sauda, and that's the one thing she was told not to do. She was told by the previous grandmasters not to attack her, because if she attacks Sauda, she will die. And that is exactly what happened. She tries to kill Sauda and she ends up dying. She passes away, she dies. Of course, Zervi and the whole family, Zervi and all her grandbabies are upset, because at the end of the day, she was a grandmother, she was a mother, and but you know, some people were happy about it. But anyway, at the end of this decade, Gamba and Hassani actually make amends, and this is where we left off. And I'm excited to see where else we will be heading with this family. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye.